Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Meredith. Thank you so much for being here. It is 8:30 in the morning. I finished my Rhythm of War video and I got it exported, but it exported so late that I went and just left it uploading basically to YouTube and went to sleep. So I have to finish uploading it this morning, make a thumbnail and stuff, and then I have to work. Womp womp. This is a Wind and Truth reading vlog, by the way. My pre-order is supposed to arrive today. I have no idea what time. And I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, maybe I should go just buy a physical copy somewhere instead of waiting for the package to arrive. But then I was like, Meredith, you have a job. So might as well wait for the package to arrive because it's not like you're going to be able to read it during your workday anyway. Bummer. I did get through 10 chapters last night after I finally finished editing the Rhythm of War video. I'm really enjoying it. We're having a blast. We're having fun. But I'm going to stop being a baby and go get on my work laptop. And then I will check in with you guys when I finish part 1. I'm excited though. New book. It's going to be so awesome. I'm reading on my lunch break. I'm on chapter 10, I think, or 11. I don't know. I'm reading on my iPad. He is giving Kaladin, he being Brandon Sanderson, is giving Kaladin such a send-off and foreshadowing so heavily that he dies at the end that I'm starting to believe that he doesn't. I don't think he's gonna die, but I think he's probably going to change form in some way. He's not gonna be a human radiant anymore. It's this line right here. I don't know, Kaladin said, but if I do come back, I get a feeling it will be different. They're yours now, Sig. Lead them well. I don't know what's gonna happen to him. I just think that Brandon Sanderson is giving him too much of a send-off for him to actually die. Maybe that's just my hopeful thinking, because he doesn't like to make things this obvious. I've said things have been obvious in the past, but they're never this obvious. And so I feel like he either really knows that people are going to be so sad when Kaladin dies that he wants to give the reader really a send-off for him, or all of this is a false lead and something else is going to happen to Kaladin and he's maybe not going to come back in the same form. Maybe he becomes the wind. Wild guess, I don't know, we'll see. But I unfortunately probably have to return to my job. I wish there was a form of PTO they could give you for when a really good book comes out, where you can just say, hey, I'll catch up on my work when I'm done reading. But they don't let you do that. Rude. All right, I finished day 1. So it seems that this book is going to be split into the days, the 10 days leading up to the Battle of Champions, instead of into parts. So typically these books have 5 parts. It seems this one is going to have 10 parts. I actually kind of like that better. I wasn't sure at first how I felt about him breaking form, but I will say that I feel like the parts are so long that it's each part is a book. And so when you finish a part, it's you finished a whole book because it's basically the length of a book. I feel very accomplished right now, having read the first part of this book the first day up until an interlude. And I've probably read, I don't know because I'm reading it virtually, but I've probably read the equivalent of 100, maybe 150 pages, as opposed to the 300 I would normally have to read to hit that milestone. So I think it helps through a thick book like that to split it into smaller chunks and to make the reader feel accomplished for having made it to a certain part. I also just want to say what relief I feel in only having Shallan and Kaladin's perspectives in this part. It feels a lot less hectic. It feels a lot more calm, and I feel like we're able to explore what's happening with them a lot more. We mostly just saw Kaladin saying goodbye to everybody, which again, I think is a red herring. I think he's bearing the lead. I could be wrong. I do think he's probably going to change form. I don't think he's going to come back human, but I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's going to become one of the heralds. In the little snippets before the chapters, at some point it said that him and Seth become the Wind's champions from a book called Knights of Wind and Truth. Wind is Kaladin, Truth is Seth. Is this the new version of the heralds? I don't know. But Kaladin promised at the end of this all they'd get that drink when everything is settled and all that, and I feel like that promise will come true in some way. So Kaladin's essence will stick around even if he doesn't stay human, but I truly, honestly, from the depths of my soul, don't know what that means. I think it's possible, I'm going to say this now, and I'm horrified to be predicting this, but I actually think it's possible that Kaladin's one of the only survivors of this book now, as opposed to me thinking that he was one of the only people that was going to die. I'm now wondering if he's going to be one of the only people that lives, and everyone at Urithiru is going gonna die and he and Seth are gonna survive because they're not at Urithiru. That's not really a prediction because that feels crazy. I don't feel like he'd do that, but it's in my mind, so I just wanted to mention it. I have to leave soon. I have to go get ready because my hair looks crazy, but I have an appointment and I'm hoping when I come back that my physical book is going to be here and I can start reading the physical book from here on out. We'll see. It might not be delivered until later, but I certainly don't think I'm going to run out of what's available online already by the time my book gets here, especially because I have an appointment. It's my friend's birthday, so I have to go like celebrate his birthday. I just think it's really rude and disrespectful that he would have his birthday on such an important book release day, and it's not even the actual day of his birthday. And then my mom's birthday is tomorrow. What's wrong with you people? Don't you know there's a new Stormlight book out? Obviously I'm kidding. I'm hoping to finish day 2 later between my appointment and my plans with my friends. We shall see if I am successful, and I will check in with you guys. Did I ever talk about the prologue with Gavilar? I don't remember this morning if I ever spoke about the prologue with Gavilar. I really like that the Stormfather was lying to Gavilar. I think that's really fun. Or not really lying, just like allowing Gavilar to fill in the blanks and assume things that weren't true. I also think it's really funny that he was trying so hard to become a Knights Radiant and just couldn't because he was faking the piety. And it's crazy too because we know from everybody's impressions of him except for Navani that they all viewed him as this super honorable man who had gotten super into the codes and was following them really exactly and really cared about this book called The Way of Kings, but he couldn't become a knight because it wasn't real. He didn't actually feel it, and so he never learned the words. He never said the right words. And I love that. I think that's super fun. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Watching Shallan explore her new powers and what the effect of having 2 spread has on her is really interesting as well. The Herald talking about her being able to see into the spiritual realm and stuff. Her and Adolin seem like they're going to try and track down this unmade that they think is part of what kind of like destroyed Roshar and is leading to the surges possibly destroying Roshar even more when they locked her away because she had kind of taken the place of the gods in their absence. I mean, it's all fascinating. I'm excited to keep reading. I'm going to spend as much of this weekend as I can reading when I'm not celebrating the people I love. God, how dare they? Anyway, I'll check in with you guys later. Cannot for the life of me believe I almost forgot to mention we're shaping up to have a little bit of a romance between Syl and Kaladin. Confirmed that Spren have genitals, so that was kind of a weird scene. And I hope it happens. If he has them enter a romance together and then he kills Kaladin, I will burn this book. I will burn it in a fireplace. If he's going to head this direction, Kaladin better survive so that they can be cute and together forever. That's all I'm saying. It arrived! It arrived, it arrived. I'm literally so excited. So I made it through to day 1. So I don't know exactly how many pages that is, but I wanted to get my live react to how thick the book is. Ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Oh my god. Dude, are you kidding me? Hang on. Hand for scale? Like, look at this. When I was a kid, my parents used to joke about me reading books that are bigger than me. Well, guess what, Mom? I can still do that at 26, okay? That is crazy. Okay. Oh my god. I've never had a hardcover of these before. Wait. Okay, wait. Let me put my jacket back on because this shirt has pit stains and I'm insecure about it. I just wanted to show how big the book was. So we have a shard blade here on the front, and this is what the spine looks like. It is, no reading words, 1329 officially, 1329 pages. My goodness. And then here is the dust jacket, and it has a map of Roshar on the inside. Oh my god, what's this? These are, I'm assuming, the orders of the Knights Radiant. And here's the map of Roshar. Where is Urithiru? I've never actually tried to figure that out on here. Here's Urithiru, right here. Here's Shinovar, which is where they're going, but they're gonna go from Azir, which is right there. Okay, that's sick. That makes it so much easier to see. I do prefer reading mass market paperback. I know that sounds crazy, but look at my hands. Look at having to hold this. Oh my god, and look at how many novels he has. And all of these tie together. The man is insane. He's insane. Okay, so I was on page 129. I didn't know that. I read the interludes already. Oh, there's so many more perspectives on day 2. I don't like that. I liked only having Kedin and Shallan. So this is how far in I am. But like, you see what I mean? Like, this is so heavy to like sit and hold this. I always have to put a book on my lap to rest it. That's why I prefer the mass market paperbacks, because they're easier to hold. But obviously they're not going to put a brand new book out in mass market paperback anyway. Oh, there's images on the back too. Okay, wait. We need to look at the dust jacket more. Or not the dust jacket, the book itself. Is that Dalinar? Dalinar is described as tan, so I've always imagined him to be like light skin. Yeah, but would they portray him as a warrior? And then on the back, I'm assuming this is cultivation. Who's this? Is that the sibling? Are these all the gods? So maybe this is the sibling and this is cultivation. And then maybe this is odium and this is honor. Was honor a Thalen? I don't know. Oh yeah, okay. Front end papers are Herald, Talonat, and honor. So this is Herald, Talonat, and this is honor. And then the back 2 pages are cultivations and Herald Bata. So this is cultivation and this is Herald Bata. That's awesome. Okay, 129. All right, well, it is a lovely day out here in Phoenix, Arizona. So I am going to go sit on my patio and read until it is time to go meet up with my friends. And I will check in with you guys later. How am I? 174 pages into this storming book, and I'm just getting my first Seth chapter. This is supposed to be his book. Where are my Seth chapters, Brandon? Why are there so few of them? And by so few, I mean literally 1, and it took 174 pages to get there. I mean, I know it's thick. He has time yet, but geez. I have been told by friends that the later chapters with him are really good. So I'm holding out hope. But if they're so sporadic in a book that's supposed to be his, I'm going to be pissed off. That is all. Hello. Finished day 2. We're about this far in. Page 312, which in a 1,300 page book puts us just under a quarter of the way through. 1,000 pages to the end. Measly, really. So I finally got to the end of the pages that got published ahead of time. I'm a little frustrated with myself that I did not read them ahead of time. Is what it is. You guys, it's going down. Say it with me. I'm yelling timber. Screaming it, really. I got my notes here. Let's start with Shallan. So Shallan spent this whole day hunting the Ghost Bloods. So she found their little hideout on the Shattered Plains and snuck in. It was very impressive. She couldn't use her light weaving for part of it, so she showed her improvement in her trickery skills. I enjoyed the scene. And she managed to learn some information from them that, I gotta be honest, it's like 11 p.m. Saturday, December 7th, the day after the book came out. I went out for a friend last night, and then I went to my parents' house to watch ASU play in the Big 12 championship and win. Good day, good day. I read some at my parents' house, and then I went to yoga, came home, made myself dinner, got some reading in, had a lovely day. In my tired state of mind, I don't quite remember what she learned from them. She learned, I'm sure I'll remember when it becomes important in the book, but she learned some information from them. But then they discover her and they have a big fight scene. Some of the Ghost Bloods escape, but she knows that they're planning on following Dalinar and Navani into the spiritual realm. So they go to where Dalinar and Navani are in the physical realm, but they go in Shadesmar. Probably not under them. That's not how it works, does it? I'm kind of imagining Shadesmar to be under the physical realm. I don't know if I'm supposed to be imagining it like over, like above instead of below. On top of is probably what he intended. Like, as in overlapping. My brain doesn't like that, though. So I'm gonna go with, like, sitting on top of, as though it is, like, a building. Anyway, in order to understand what happens next in Shallan's storyline, we have to go to Dalinar. Dalinar spends this entire part debating with the Stormfather and learning things from Wit, and eventually deciding to enter the spiritual realm to try and see the past and maybe recover some of Honor's power. So Dalinar is maybe going to become a god, take in the shard of Honor, the power of it, become the vessel for it. There is a line on page 213. Class, open your books to page 213, where the Stormfather and Dalinar are arguing because Dalinar wants to go recover Honor's power. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Please don't get on my case. He wants to go, like, become the vessel for the shard of Honor that Tanavast used to have. Tanavast was the vessel. Tanavast is dead, and the power is somewhere in the spiritual realm. And Dalinar wants to go recover the power and become Honor. However you can word that quickly. I'm just gonna say become Honor from here on out. And the Stormfather really doesn't want this to happen. In fact, the Stormfather has been lying to Dalinar. Now, I love this. I'm very disappointed by the fact that we did not get Wit as an unreliable narrator, and Wit figured out super early in that Odium had, like, altered his memories. Still bummed about that. But apparently we get the Stormfather as a bit of an unreliable character. He's been been lying to Dalinar. Love it, adore it. Interesting because he seems to have been lying to Dalinar since they bonded, and they keep remarking about how he's becoming more and more human as they bond. So why was he lying to begin with? What is he hiding? I'm assuming we're gonna find out at some point in this book. I didn't say this at the beginning, but I imagine that Brandon Sanderson is gonna wrap up a lot of the threads that he's got in the air right now in this book. I think he understands that if he's going to be like ending an arc, most of these questions have to be answered, and then there is essentially going to be one hanging thread, right? One thing that is like, oh, that's what kind of kicks off the next arc, which is like the second half of this book series, and that's why I want to keep reading, but I think he's only going to dangle the one carrot. If he leaves too many threads open, it's going to be very frustrating for the readers, I think, or it would be frustrating for me for sure. So we're going to get these answers in the book. Why did the Stormfather lie? What is he hiding? I'm excited about that. But why did we go to page 213? I'm so glad you asked. The Stormfather is arguing with Dalinar about the power of honor, and he says, "This is not for you to seek or decide. The power cannot go to one who wants it. Dalinar." So essentially what this is building up to is that Dalinar, Navani, Shallan, Renarin, R'Laine, as well as members of the Ghost Bloods, and maybe other people I'm forgetting. Oh, Gav, the baby. Well, I guess he's a 5-year-old. All got absolutely launched into the spiritual realm. So one of the Ghost Bloods stabbed the perpendicularity with a knife. Doesn't matter. They're all in the spiritual realm. You know, my theory was going to be that somehow Kaladin was going to end up with Honor's power, because I feel like that makes sense for him, for his character, and also makes sense for why they would give him such a send-off. Maybe he'd kind of like morph into something else by the end of the book. Also, seems like we're getting the hintings, just the tiniest hintings of a romance between him and Syl that would probably be easier if he was also immortal like she was, or is, I should say, presently. But also, what if it's Gav? What if the little 5-year-old ends up with Honor's power? What would that do? Like a child with all that power? Is he gonna do that? Is he gonna do that? He's not gonna do that, is he? What do you think, Liv? What do you think? Is he gonna do that? Honey, do you think he's gonna do that? She's distracted by Stanley. He wants to play. I'll play with him in a second. He wouldn't do that. I don't know that I want the baby to get all that power. You're gonna have like the movie Boss Baby, Stormlight Archives edition. Like, what would even happen? Would he just like become an adult all at once? Or would he remain very childlike in nature but like gain all that vision out into the future? What would that even like do? It could be kind of a fun thing to play with. What does honor mean to a child? Or maybe he'd just have him grow up right away. And then he's like 5 years old, but like adult, with like adult maturity. God, I knew there was gonna be a freak Dune baby. I knew it. I knew we were gonna end up with a freak baby. I just thought it was gonna be Navani and Dalinar's like biological baby. No, not Navani and Dalinar. Who did I think was gonna have the freak baby? I'm so tired, you guys. Who did I think was gonna... Stanley, do you remember who I thought the freak baby was gonna be? Oh, Wit and Yasna. I thought Wit and Yasna were gonna have a freak baby. I didn't realize Gav was gonna become the freak baby. What is it with these authors and like sentient babies? I've actually never wondered what life would be like if 5-year-olds had the eternal knowledge of the universe, and I'm not exactly sure I want to read and find out. Now, I'm inventing that storyline in my head, so I'm not going to get too riled up about it. Maybe he's not going to do that, although they did say you could transfer the power to somebody else, like Wit mentioned. Like, once somebody has the power, they can in theory transfer it to somebody else, so maybe Gav could give it to somebody else. But right when I read the part where the Stormfather said the power can't go to somebody that wants it, I immediately thought of Kaladin. Now, I know that Kaladin is in the physical realm. He's in Shinovar. He's with Seth, and watching him try to be a therapist is so funny. Him just literally living the meme of like, and how does that make you feel? They just keep having conversations where Seth says stuff that's like so depressing, and then Kaladin's just like, and what if you didn't think that you deserved all of this? And Seth's like, shut the fuck up, of course I do. And Kaladin's just like, and what if you didn't carry the guilt, the burden from the like hundreds of murders you've committed? What if you did stop feeling bad about all of that? What if? And Seth's like, I don't think I deserve that, truthfully. I think I deserve to be haunted by the things that I've done. And he's like maybe kind of right, given the things that he's done. done. But I found him fascinating from the beginning because I want to understand how he could end up so dedicated to a religion that he did all of that when he actively didn't want to, and I'm excited that we're starting to get those answers. And I can also actually attest to the fact that IRL therapy is kind of like that. It's you saying to the therapist, I feel guilty about this, and then saying, what if you didn't feel guilty about it? And you saying, I'm not going to stop feeling guilty about it, actually. And then a day comes where you do stop feeling guilty about it. And it turns out if they ask you enough times, what if you stopped feeling guilty about that? Eventually you will. So I guess Kaladin's like kind of on the right track, but I don't really understand how he would end up with Honor's power from the physical realm. It's just that he's the first character I thought of when the Stormfather said that, and he got such a send-off. And I think Brandon Sanderson's kind of planting a false lead. Like, I don't think that Kaladin is going to end up dying because I feel like it's so heavily foreshadowed at this point that he's going to, that I know it's a bait and switch. I know it in my heart. The other people with them on the journey are like Shallan. I don't think Shallan would end up Honor. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'll look stupid if she does, but I don't think it would be her. Navani I could see, but I feel like it's not going to be her or Dalinar. I feel like it's going to be Gav. Now that I've said that out loud, I really feel like it's going to be Gav. And I keep coming back to, what is it with authors and freak sentient babies? We don't need it. Children are terrifying enough. They don't need to also have the infinite knowledge of the universe. Anyway, then I read the interludes, and I am very interested by the fact that Taravangian actually seems torn on what to do. I think that's kind of fun because it does lead us to wonder if he's going to end up going through on his plot to try and conquer the universe. Now, he's going to write 5 more books that are at least 1,200 pages long. So one could assume that Odium's Taravangian is going to follow through on his plot, because if not, simply what are those 5 books going to be about? I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess something else could come up. He could totally do that. He could completely resolve this, have Taravangian decide, you know what, maybe I am fine with just Roshar. Maybe I am cool with this. And then something else crazy happens and the fight comes to Roshar. Maybe that's what goes on. I don't know, but it's fun to watch him debate. It's fun to watch him be torn about it. I hate him, but I have found him very interesting since we first met him, and he continues to be so. There was also a scene in the interludes where he kind of promotes this fused up to being like his general to go fight the battle on the Shattered Plains, and he's bringing one of the Unmade with him, and there's some sort of price. You have to pay the price. The Unmade apparently has a powerful enough power that she'll swing the battle, but there's some kind of price that goes with it. We don't know that much information. Curious to see where that ends up, though. Kind of bummed that they have this big weapon because I'm rooting for the humans, but he does have a habit of making everything look really dire and then killing hundreds of nameless citizens of these various cities and actually killing very few of the main characters. But he did say this one was going to be a bloodbath, so we shall see. I did think Shallan maybe was going to die in this one, so maybe Shallan does not come back from the spiritual realm. But she didn't have a whole goodbye from Adolin, so I don't know. I feel like we would have had that if she was gonna die, or maybe that's why he didn't show that, because then we would have been suspicious. Okay, I'm probably done reading for the night because I'm really tired, but I'm going to pick it back up tomorrow and I'll let you guys know how I feel. How could I'm not plugging my nice mic back in, I'm sorry. How could I forget that Renarin is gay? Renarin is gay. Okay, autistic gay king, love it. What do you think, Liv? What do you think of our autistic gay king? Okay, that's all. Hey everyone, good morning. I just woke up. It's Sunday. It's like 8-ish in the morning. I have to do some Christmas shopping today. I've been putting that off. I have a few more things I want to say that I forgot to mention last night. The first is, can't believe I forgot to say, I am finding myself a little bit annoyed that this is supposed to be Seth's book and we're this far into the book and we've gotten essentially 2 chapters from his perspective and 2 in the past. It was somewhere in like the 170s, I feel like, to actually get a Seth chapter. Page 230 is when we actually get a past chapter from Seth's perspective, so like we go into his past. And I'm like, this is supposed to be his book. But the next part is Seth and Adolin and Kaladin, so I'm hoping we get a lot more Seth because it's supposed to be about him. We're supposed to get his whole backstory, and I feel like we've gotten so little of it. Another theory that I had written down that I forgot to mention is that Mishram is actually the one who takes the Honor's power. I think that could be cool. And another prediction that came to me in the middle of the night that's like horrifying is everybody keeps talking about how people get lost in the spiritual realm. You could spend forever in there. You could get lost in there, blah, blah, blah. What if everybody that went into the spiritual realm like doesn't come back in this book, and this book ends with them stuck in the spiritual realm, and then there's a time skip, and the time skip is like when they come back from the spiritual realm? That would be crazy. That would be wild. I think that is going to happen with at least one character. I don't know who it is, but I think that at least one character that went into the spiritual realm is going to get stuck in the spiritual realm until the next arc, just because I think that would be really fun. I was freaked out about the idea of Gav getting Honor's power. I guess it could be kind of fun. I don't know. I don't know that that's exactly what I want to happen, but imagine if he's the one who gets stuck in the spiritual realm, and then he like leaves the spiritual realm, and he's like in his 20s, and he like had his whole childhood grew up like in the spiritual realm. That would be cool. So yeah, I have a pretty chill day today. I need to do some Christmas shopping, but it's only like 8 a.m. So stores are not open 8 a.m. on a Sunday. So I'm going to chill and read for a while, and then I'm going to do some Christmas shopping. And then I want to get home by the Cardinals game so I can watch it and clean, and then I'll probably read more after. Finished day 3. Had my thing set up here all ready to film. We're standing again. You can kind of see my mess in the corner. I had a wonderful day so far today, honestly. I'm not sure if I said that earlier. Got some editing done this morning on this video, actually. Did my shopping. Came back here, read day 3. Now I'm about to clean up. And honestly, this chapter was pretty chill. There was a battle with the Fuse in Azir, which was kind of intense, that Adeline was leading, and it was honestly never really like looked like the humans were gonna lose, so there wasn't that much stress there. And there was one fight between Seth and one of these ladies with like one of the honor blades, but it didn't really ever seem like he was gonna lose that either. I mean, it was definitely intense, but this is supposed to be Seth's book, and we've gotten very little of his backstory, so I don't think he's getting killed now. You know what I mean? So it's very chill, 100-ish pages for this part. The next day is also about 100 pages, but now we've got Dalinar and Shallan roped back in. So we're gonna get to see their perspectives from the spiritual realm as well as everything going on the Shattered Plains. I think that Dalinar's watch is still going to match the clock in the physical realm. So I do want to keep reading. I definitely want to read day 4 today too if I can, but I really, really desperately need to clean my office, which is crazy because in my Rhythm of War video, which I filmed like 2 weeks ago, I also desperately needed to clean my office. I'm still working out a cleaning schedule that works for me, but that's okay. We live and we learn. So I'm gonna clean up, and then I'm probably gonna make myself dinner, and then I'll get back to reading this evening. I have the Cardinals game playing, but they're not doing that well. Oh, also I really enjoyed Maya calling Adeline a slut. That was really funny. Okay, I'll check in with you guys when I finish the next day. Hey everybody, what is up? I finished part 4 last night. It's the next day. It's Monday, December 9th. Thought we'd do a quick little check-in. Still having a ton of fun. Still enjoying it immensely. Think it very easily is going to become my favorite Stormlight book, though I don't know if it's because of the situation, with it being a new release and it being exciting. And as much as I prefer reading mass market paperbacks, with books this thick, I might have had an easier time if they were bigger pages with more space between the words. Not to restart all that drama that happened on Book Talk, but like, I gotta say I kind of agree with that girl. Sometimes when the words are closer together, it's harder to read, you know? So maybe I'd have had an easier time. But anyway, we got a bunch of stuff in the spiritual realm, which has been really fun. We saw the humans arriving on Roshar. That's really the only like in-depth scene that we've seen, but I'm excited to watch him use this as an avenue to deliver this history of the world. I won't assume to know Brandon Sanderson's mind or his heart, but I can almost guarantee you that the way this thought process went is, how can I figure out a way to deliver some information about like the history of Roshar that these characters need that isn't in the form of the character that knows everything, which is kind of Wit. It's just now occurring to me that he is very expertly navigating having a character that sort of knows everything by having him sort of be missing very key details. So I haven't noticed up to this point or like felt like there there was just the character that knows everything that's explaining everything. Even though Wit has been doing that a little bit, because there's these holes in Wit's knowledge that we still need help answering. Because if Wit had just sat everyone down and been like, well, this is how Honor died, this is why Honor's power refuses to bond with another human, and this is what we could do about it, then I feel like we as the readers would feel very cheated. So I'm sure that he sat and tried to figure out how he could deliver that information to the characters and the reader without having it just be explained by somebody. And so having them go on this journey where they can view these scenes from the past is really smart and very fun, and I am enjoying it. As of right now, Navani and Dalinar think they're alone in the spiritual realm. They don't think there's anybody else there. We, the reader, know that Shallan, R'lain, Renarin, 3 members of the Ghost Bloods, and Gav are all in the spiritual realm. So party in the spiritual realm, everybody's there. Sorry you weren't invited. It is because nobody wants to hang out with you and they intentionally left you out. We're all partying in the spiritual realm and your anxiety is correct. We didn't invite you because the vibes are off. I kid. You're invited to my party in the spiritual realm. Never fear. The vibes are not off. You're a wonderful human being and all of your friends love you dearly. Anyway, I want to see more. And I'm sure I will. More of just a to be continued on that. I maintain that Gav is either going to end up with Honor's power, or he's going to get stuck in the spiritual realm until the next series, and he's going to emerge from the spiritual realm a full-grown adult having grown up there. Who knows what that's going to do to a person emotionally and physically. Maybe he gets some like magical powers from that. Maybe he's not like fully Honor, but he like sort of becomes Honor in a way a little bit. We also got a ton of time with Seth and Kaladin. I love their little bromance. I love it. I'm so here for it. I'm so here for the Kaladin and Seth as besties arc. And watching Seth do all these really cool battle scenes is really sick because he's an incredible warrior. I feel like Brandon Sanderson just wanted to write a bunch of really cool battle scenes against each of the orders of the Knights Radiant and decided to do so using Seth in this pilgrimage. So we're gonna get a bunch of really fun action sequences until he's done with his quest. But I adore their little thought soldier thing to like fight the negative thoughts with positive thoughts using like a thought soldier. And Seth keeps thinking about his like thought soldier. I just think it's so adorable. It's like, on guard, you are worthy of love, and your anxiety is wrong, and all your friends love you, and you are invited to the party at the spiritual realm. Clink, clink. That was supposed to be me, like, blocking the sword from your negative thought soldier that's fighting me in this scenario. Anyway, you know, because it would go clink. Okay, so I just think it's really sweet, and not that much groundbreaking has happened plot-wise, I'm pretty sure. Dalinar and the Stormfather got into a big fight, and the Stormfather's like, okay, I'm abandoning you in the spiritual realm, which I'm sure he's not going to do, but I'm also pretty sure that Dalinar is going to figure out a way out on his own. The Syl and Kaladin romance is really cute. Now that I've been introduced to this organically in the book, I've been informed by a friend that this is a real ship in the Stormlight community, and they call it Sylladin. Have they always had a bit of a flirty energy? Yes. But myself being a romance lover and caring the most about the romances in this, even I thought a Spren and a human could never happen. They have a platonic friendship. Maybe it's a little bit flirty. It's never going anywhere. And even when he had this moment where he's like, oh, maybe I only thought I liked Shallan because she reminded me of someone else and that someone else was Syl, I still was like, there's no way he's going to romantically end up with Syl. She's a Spren, he's a human. But the dancing scene, that was so cute. That was really, really sweet. And I liked it a lot. And it warmed my little romance lover's heart. And I want it so bad. I want them to end up together so bad. I don't know logistically how he's gonna do it. We'll find out. Like, if Spren are imagined to be very similar to humans, and Syl was saying we have everything humans have except for the icky parts, the implication to me was that that means she doesn't have a booty hole. So they can't do anal, but they can maybe do everything else. I don't know. She doesn't really have like a physical form. In Shadesmar they could if Kaladin decided to like live in Shadesmar with her, but then he would be aging and she wouldn't be. So I feel like he has to become immortal in some way, and she has to be able to manifest physically in the physical realm for this to work. In which case, we'll also find out if Spren are able to have orgasms. There's so much logistically about this that I'm curious about that I just feel like he's not gonna give us. There was a slightly steamier shower scene between Shallan and Adolin, but even that is so baby. Like, it wasn't really smut. It still was like a pan away when they actually are starting to get intimate sort of situation. We just got a little bit more of the lead up. But even that does not a sex scene make. Very similar to Twilight, I want to logistically unpack how the sex works, and I'm pre-making my peace with the fact that the author isn't ever going to give me that. Brandon Sanderson isn't ever going to walk us through how a human and a spren have sex, or maybe he will. Maybe he will in this book. Maybe he'll do that. I'm not holding out hope, but I wish. My friend also informed me that there are some people that are very against this ship and they don't want it to happen. And to those people, I say, why are you so grumpy? Why are you so grumpy, and why do you hate joy and life and love? I want them together. And I maintain the fact that if he gets them together and then he kills one of them, I will sit on that knowledge. And one day when I release my book, which is also a fantasy, maybe someday I'll actually meet him in person so I can tell him how much I didn't like that choice. I don't even want to jokingly threaten violence because I think that's wrong. I would be so upset. Please don't do that. The fighting scenes with Adeline have been really fun. We're getting so much time with him, I'm starting to be afraid he's not going to survive the book. But he and Shallan didn't really have like a whole send-off goodbye. But I had said before, maybe that's the red herring. I don't know. The other thing the relationship between Syl and Kaladin had kind of made me realize is that everybody is bonded to a spren of the opposite gender, at least as far as I can tell, except for Renarin and R'lain. Now, this could be for two reasons. The first is their spren are the corrupt spren, so it's possible that corrupt spren end up bonding same gender, or R'lain and Renarin are both, well, we don't know for a fact that R'lain is gay, actually, at this point. I don't know that we have that confirmed, but we do have it confirmed that Renarin is gay autistic king. So it's hard to know. I'm trying to remember if Drehy, I don't know if I'm saying that right, it's Drehy, he is also gay and a windrunner, and I don't know if we've ever been introduced to his spren. I think his spren would tell us, is it because they're gay or is it because they're corrupt spren? But that was just a really interesting thing I noticed, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't really think of another example of it being a same gender pairing except for Shallan and Testament. Now, the interesting thing about Shallan and Testament is that they bonded when she was really young. So I feel like either Shallan bisexual confirmed, or Shallan was so young when she bonded her first spren that attraction had nothing to do with it, and she just like bonded a random spren but then attracted a male spren when she was older. I don't know, but it feels so consistent that it does feel like it has to be something he's doing intentionally, because Testament and then the corrupt spren with Renarin and R'lain are the only examples I could think of a same gender spren person pairing. If you guys can think of another example, let me know. But otherwise, what a weird connection, you know? So we'll see what shapes out with that, or if anything shapes out with that. Maybe it's a coinky dink. I'm gonna keep reading and I will keep you guys updated on how I feel. Hey everyone, I finished part 5 last night. Did I finish part 4 last night? Or day 4? No, I finished day 5 last night. I'm getting ready to film my AI video. Basically, there's an AI book company that got some investment funding. That doesn't really mean anything. It just means they got some funding, but people are reacting pretty harshly to the pitch, and I think I have a pretty unique perspective on it, being both an avid book nerd and a software engineer. So I'm gonna film a chatty little video about that today, and just my thoughts on like AI in the book world in general and in publishing and like its role, especially because people are like afraid that the eventual goal is like for AI to write books, which is so funny because that's like literally genuinely something straight out of 1984. Like they have that in 1984. They have novel writing machines that like write all their novels. But I thought while we'd get ready, we'd go over day 5. So we got a lot more in the spiritual realm, which was really, really fun. We got to see the forming of the Oath Pact and this other like conversation between the heralds that happened before that. I like it. I'm not 100% sure a lot of the information about that we're getting about the heralds is going to end up becoming important like to the plot per se, but I really appreciate getting that perspective, because I think too often people forget that like history was real shit that happened to real people, and I think it's good to like see a book essentially showing historical events as so mundane almost. And we've been hearing about these historical events throughout the course of the entire book, and so in a way these events are a massive deal to us, the reader, the way they would be a massive deal to characters in the book, and then we watch them just like as moments between humans, you know? And I think that's really fun. And so I'm here for it. I'm enjoying reading it. And we're just watching as Dalinar and Navani are attempting to find the source of Honor's power and see how he died and all of that, and like why the power doesn't want a new host. I still maintain that I think that Gav is going to end up with Honor's power. I just do. I still think that. We've also seen Mraize
argue to Shallan why they should like team back up and like try to argue for what they're working towards. And he is claiming that they want Mishram's prison as like a threat to Odium, that like Odium is scared of Mishram, and so they can like use Mishram to basically like threaten Odium into submission. But Shallan isn't believing him, and I'm honestly happy that she isn't, because clearly he's not telling her the whole truth and we know he's hiding stuff. So I'm happy that she's not just like blindly trusting him. I also really enjoy spending more time with Renarin and R'lain in the spiritual realm. There's a part where Renarin is like showing R'lain how to like see into somebody's soul, and he shows like what he sees when he looks into R'lain's soul, and it's like someone kind of split in half between human and singer. And then Renarin like walks back in the room to see R'lain with like a sphere of light in his hands, and the scene playing out in the sphere is R'lain and Renarin making out. So I don't know if that's what like Renarin's soul was showing R'lain, or if that was just like something R'lain was seeing like between them. I'm not really sure, but I'm excited for our little couple. I think they're really cute. So that's pretty much everything that's happening in the spiritual realm. Oh, Shallan tried to kill Mraize, but Mraize, much like Shallan, has figured out that if you don't allow Stormlight to heal you while the anti-Stormlight is in your system, then it doesn't kill you, or it doesn't like explode, I guess, within your body. So you can avoid making like your own version of a nuclear bomb within your body. I guess it's not a nuclear bomb, is it? It's like those theoretical dark matter bombs that people were scared of for a while before all the scientists were like, yeah, the odds of us being able to make like perfect antimatter that can combine with matter and explode in that way is slim to none. Very little to fear in the way of antimatter bombs. But that's kind of like what he's created within the universe, is like a version of an antimatter bomb that has to do with like Stormlight and anti-Stormlight. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all that happens in the spiritual realm. We also got more time with Kaladin and Seth, and more time with Adolin, although it's more of the same, but I'm not complaining. I'm enjoying this book a lot. I maintain that I'm enjoying it the most out of any of the books that I've read. I think it's the best of the Stormlight books, so I'm enjoying it a lot, but I don't really feel like I have much in the way of like updates as far as opinions go on what we've seen. We're just getting more of Seth's childhood, and then more of him and Kaladin hiking around to the different monasteries. I think the only scene that really sticks out to me is what I want to mention is the scene where Kaladin realizes that Seth is a lot more like Kaladin's little brother Tien as opposed to Kaladin. Kaladin was trying to help Seth in the ways by saying things that helped Kaladin when he was struggling a little bit more emotionally, and it just wasn't working at all, and they weren't really bonding, and Kaladin was starting to get really frustrated. And he realized when he sees Seth pull this toy that he had hid in the wall of a monastery out, that Kaladin asked him how old he was when he was like forced to become a soldier, and Seth says that he was 11, and that's when Kaladin realizes that he's a lot more like Tien than he is like Kaladin, and that he was like forced to be a soldier way too young. So Kaladin kind of changes his approach and ends up really having a moment with Seth where they embrace, and it's very sweet. And I'm happy that we're seeing Seth heal. He deserves it. I mean, I know he like murdered a bunch of people, but still, it's like he thought he had to with this whole Oathstone thing and stuff. He was like owned as a slave basically, and that is something that Kaladin understands, right? It's good that they have each other, and I'm really enjoying their bromance. And in the next part, we're gonna get some from Syl's perspective, and so I wonder if we're gonna get a little bit more of an evolution on the romance, because it seems like Syl has kind of started to try and fulfill the role of Kaladin's wife by being his scribe and things like that, and she's been working on manifesting more and more in the physical world. And so we're gonna get her perspective in the next part, and I'm wondering if some of that is going to be about her motivations for doing that, and maybe we're gonna see that she has a little crush on Kaladin. I don't know. I mean, she definitely does, and Kaladin definitely has a crush on her. It's just whether or not they're aware of it. We also got more from Adolin's perspective, but we didn't really learn much new there except that Nodum showed up. Nodum is the honor spren that Adolin saved in Shadesmar, and he showed up to help with the battle even though he doesn't want to bond a spren. So instead of bonding a spren, he's more acting as a messenger. But he said he felt this like drive to come help and was able to manifest into the physical realm and then go to where they were. And Adeline asks him if it's because of Maya, and Notam is like, I honestly don't know, but he's also the only Spren that's like showed up to help. I do think it's gonna end up being something Maya's doing, but I want her to come back soon. I miss her and Adeline interacting, and I think he's gonna end up becoming a Radiant. And not only do I think he's gonna end up becoming a Radiant, but I think he's gonna come into being a Radiant at like the 4th ideal when they get armor. Even his armor is starting to behave a little bit more like the Radiant armor as opposed to just like random shard plate. So I'm wondering if not only is he gonna become a Radiant once Maya fully heals, but I think that when he does, he's gonna be a Radiant of the 4th ideal. He's just gonna like spring straight to that level, I think, instead of having to train his way up to it. And that makes me hopeful that he's not gonna die in this battle, but I guess we'll see. Anyway, I'm having a blast. I'm having a ton of fun. I'm definitely gonna keep reading. I'm gonna go fix up my hair and put my little jacket on with this outfit, and then I'm gonna come back and film my AI video. I want to edit that today so that I can get it up tomorrow. We'll see if I pull it off. And then I have a shitload of reading to do, and I don't know if I'm gonna have time. We'll see. The next day is only like 80 pages, so I feel like it's not that ridiculous to think that I can finish the next day later tonight. By the time I post this, this will have already passed, but I'm sure the VOD is up, so you could definitely go check out like the VOD or the clips. But I'm gonna be on my friend Marissa's stream this Friday, the 13th. She's doing a subathon, and we're gonna do a book review on a really smutty romance novel that's like witches and dragons, so I'm very excited about that. Definitely check that out. It's gonna be a ton of fun. I'm pretty sure I'm posting this the Sunday after though, so the stream will have already happened, but I'm sure the VOD and the clips will be around, so definitely check those out. I'll link them if they're available when I post this video. But I have to read that book. I haven't even started yet, and it's Tuesday. And I have dance tonight. I was taking this dance class, and tonight's the last night of it for a while. So I really want to go. We'll see. We'll see. I think I have time for all of it. I think my goal now is to read a day, and that'll perfectly bring me up to being able to get the video out on this Sunday, because I post videos on Sundays anyway. So I'm still gonna make it work, but if I don't manage to get through it today, then I can just read 2 of the days tomorrow. I don't think that's gonna be the end of the world. I will keep you guys updated on how I'm feeling. Hello, we are getting ready together again. It's the next day. I finished day 6 last night, so I think we're in like the late 700s as far as pages go. And I'm getting ready again to film again today, because this happens to me every time my channel has a few videos in a row that are like doing really well. Right now it's my Wicked videos. They're going crazy, and every time that happens, I end up getting really insecure about the next few videos that I post, and I end up like really overthinking like what I'm doing, because I want everything to be perfect, because I'm like, the channel's growing, so I gotta make sure I'm posting more videos that are gonna grow the channel, you know? And so I filmed that AI video yesterday, and I was editing it, and I had to talk myself out of just like scrapping the whole entire video, because I just was like, who wants to hear about AI from me? But I ended up deciding that I thought I'd just feel better if I like refilmed the end, because the thing that I'm really worried about is the internet like doesn't really allow for nuance, you know? And the thing is, like, AI isn't gonna get banned. It's not going anywhere. And so I started just talking about like the safeguards and regulations that I thought they should put in place, and then kind of went into this explanation as to why I don't think it's going to end up being a big deal in the end, like why I think a lot of this generative AI stuff is going to kind of like die out, and it's not going to like stick around as much as people think, or like change the face of technology the way people think. And I realized that I was being kind of flippant in my tone, and I was worried that people were gonna think I was being like condescending. People are gonna get mad about it anyway, is what it is. But I just would feel better, I think, knowing that I put the work in to make the video better. Because I think right now I come across as too like flippant. But anyway, I just want to refilm it, so I'm gonna do that today. But let's talk about day 6. Very similar to day 5. I don't necessarily have like new predictions or like comments to make. Oh, that's not true. I just lied to you, to your face. I do have a new prediction. I think Shalon's mom is gonna turn out to be the Herald with the red hair. It's kind of a long shot, but there's been 2 different instances now where we've seen the Herald with the red hair, and Shalon has had a conversation with Pattern where, very similar to when she was swearing her 4th ideal and her 3rd ideal, he's like, you got to think about this eventually, and she's like, no, I don't. And so there's something to do with the Herald with the red hair that she doesn't want to think about. And it might sound like crazy and ridiculous, but I can't think of like what else from her past it would be if it wasn't that like that woman is her mom. You know what I mean? Because she has very like distinctive red hair, and that's like a part of her her character that's mentioned a lot. And so I'm wondering if the Herald is going to end up being like her mom or something. I'm really curious to see where these visions are going. I think they're so fun. And I was so bummed that the part ended with them getting to the vision of Honor dying, because I want to know what happened so bad. And I was reading kind of late last night. I finished this part around like 10, I'm pretty sure. And like that might not be that late for those of you watching who are like in high school or college, but I'm a grown woman with a day job. So 10 p.m. is like midnight. So I was like, I know I have to go to bed. I know I'm going to be so mad at myself if I stay up reading, but I want to stay up reading so bad because I want to know what happens. I want to see Honor's death. I also know that it's probably going to be late in this part that we actually get to see Honor's death, if we even get to see it this part. But I think we will, because Dalinar's perspective and Navani's, I'm pretty sure, are listed for the part. So I don't know how we would get their perspective and not see it, since they're in the vision now as of the end of this part. Is that even? I'm doing this in like my viewfinder. I need a little mirror. Does this have a mirror in it? Oh yeah, but it's got a sticker thing on it. I never used the mirror in this little rose ink thing I have, although I've used the shit out of it. I don't know if you can see that. I love this blush. It's shade Heliotrope. There we go. Oh yeah, that's relatively even actually. I'm kind of impressed. Maybe not looking is the way to go. Maybe not looking is the way to get it even. But anyway, I'm very excited to read more tonight. I'm planning on getting at least day 6 done, which is kind of long, and there's a lot of perspectives in it, like a lot. Like basically every chapter is going to be from a different person's perspective, it feels like. But other than that, I don't really have like different thoughts on anything else going on. We're just seeing more of the same of everything, but like in a good way. More of it the same in a way that doesn't feel repetitive. It's just like hard to come up with new things to say about the same situations that have just developed a little bit, if that makes sense. I'm enjoying Seth's emotional journey. I'm enjoying him bonding with Kaladin. I'm enjoying watching Adolin with this battle. I do still think he's going to become a Radiant, just kind of like that, and be a Radiant of the 4th Ideal. My God, my makeup looks good today. I think I kind of nailed it. Might just do a lip gloss, truthfully. I always do this. I take my lip glosses out and I put them in my purses. Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna dry my hair and then I'm gonna film a new ending to my AI video. But yeah, as always, I will keep you guys updated on how I feel. Excited to keep reading. Okay, we are gonna do this really fast. I finished day 7. It's only like 8 p.m., which means I can get a solid 2 hours more of reading in. So I think I could even finish day 8 tonight. We'll see. It's like 100 pages. 2 hours should be enough for me to read 100 pages. Normal books I read between like, I would say 70 to 100 pages in an hour, but this book's dense and big and there's a lot of words on every page. So it's taking me a little bit longer to make it through. Adolin is quite the hero, taking down a Thunderclast himself, not a Radiant. I still think he's going to become a Radiant in a big dramatic moment when the battle seems like it's close to ending. I also think Yaganwan, I don't know how to say the Emperor of Azir's name. I think they're going to do some like tricky thing with the rules where I think they're going to move the throne somewhere else, and the whole thing's gonna come down to like, as long as the Emperor sits on the throne, Azir stands, or whatever that they always say. I feel like that technicality is going to end up saving them. I still think Adolin's gonna become a Radiant though. I think the thing that Maya is working on now is somehow going to like revive her, and then once she's revived, she'll come back and turn Adolin into a Radiant. The thing with Talon and Ash was really awesome. It was amazing. Talon is such a hero, and Ash with her little like, this time he doesn't go alone thing, or I'll go with him. I forget exactly what she says. That was really lovely. The Kaladin and Seth stuff is cool, but like I don't care about it as much as I care about like the Azish battle and the stuff happening in the spiritual realm, which is crazy. I did not anticipate coming into this book to think that getting Seth's backstory and seeing him on an emotional journey would be the least interesting part. But in this section, that was true. That was the least interesting part, at least of this day. Then there were all the visions in the spiritual realm. We finally saw what Honor did that made the Knights Radiant forsake their oaths. He betrayed Mishram, so they were on the heels of being able to negotiate peace between the humans and the singers and splitting the land and just living in harmony. And instead, Honor had the bondsmith
of the time trap Mishram in a prison and take her into the spiritual realm. I think the trick of finding the prison is going to end up being connecting them to that bondsmith. I think he's still going to be in the spiritual realm millennia later. I think he's still going to be alive and like essentially is going to end up be like holding Mishram's prison. Then Honor tells the Radiants that he's abandoning them and they're no longer going to be like sanctioned surges or whatever word he used. And so their surge binding is going to tear apart the world, and shows them this vision. And that makes Dalinar understand the true reason why the Radiants walked away from their oaths, which was that they thought they were going to destroy the planet. And what do oaths mean when the god that you swore those oaths to did something so horrific as like enslave an entire people instead of allowing peace? Because when Mishram went into the prison, it took the minds of all the singers that were sworn to her. And then the Stormfather just kind of like throws Dalinar to the wolves and like throws him to Odium, which is awful. Why did he do that? I don't understand the Stormfather's motivations. I'm hoping I do understand them at some point in this book, but at least as of right now, I don't really understand. I understand him being frustrated with Dalinar, but I don't really understand why he's like willing to doom the entire planet by not rescuing Dalinar and bringing him back to face Odium. Like, what is the Stormfather afraid of? Like, if this whole thing is the Stormfather's plan to have Dalinar do the Contest of Champions, then why not just allow him to see the visions he wants to see and then bring him back to the physical realm where he can be your tribute in the Contest of Champions? I'm sensing a betrayal from the Stormfather coming. Maybe he works for Odium. Maybe the Stormfather is actually the one who killed Honor. Who knows? We haven't seen Honor's death yet, though. Honor said that he was going away, so maybe he really isn't dead. Maybe he just went away. I don't know. I still think Gav's gonna end up with the power. Something's been whispering to him, and he keeps saying it's Elhokar, like his dad. I think Honor's power is the one talking to him. I think he's gonna end up with Honor's power. I still believe that. Anything else? Anything else? Oh, Renarin and Rlain are really cute. Shallan was me when that happened. I also jumped up and down and squealed. Well, no, I didn't because I was sitting in this beanbag. But I squealed. I think that's all. I'm going to read the interludes and then day 8. And hopefully I'll finish that tonight and I can do another check-in before I go to bed. Hello. We are in my downstairs bathroom, which I'm currently using as my bathroom to do skincare stuff. Oh, that's not going to work. Hang on. I have to take this off because with the microphone clipped to it, when I raise my arms up, it gets like pushed against my person. Anyway, I thought there was maybe mold in the sink in my bathroom, and I messaged my landlord about it. She doesn't think it's mold, but she's gonna look at it anyway. It's like in the actual drain, which she says normally doesn't grow mold. But anyway, I've just been like, you know what? I'm not gonna use that sink until we get it looked at. So we're downstairs today. So I just finished day 8. Adolin has one leg now, but I think it's gonna be fine. I'm pretty sure he's gonna become a Radiant. Adolin lost a leg. I think it's a miracle he survived that thunderclass thing falling on him. I don't remember what day the actual thunderclass thing happened and if it was 7 or 8. One of the ones I read tonight. Oh my god, my hair looks wow. But I think that whatever Maya is off doing, Shallan at one point like basically rewatched her wedding, which was really sweet, and prayed for Adolin's safety. I think that whatever mission Maya is on is going to end up being aided by Shallan. Shallan like prays for Adolin's survival. Like I said, her mission's gonna be like aided by Shallan's prayer, and she's gonna end up being successful, and they're gonna defend Azimir? I don't know. Because Adolin's gonna form radiant powers. But that's not the craziest thing that happened in this part. I can't believe I started there. So Shallan's mom is a radiant, and I found out from one of my friends after I filmed the last insert. No, not the last one I filmed, maybe the one before that. I don't know, at some point today, my friend informed me that there is like a running fan theory that Shallan's mom was Shauna the Radiant. So it's funny because I like did not pick up on that until this book. Apparently that's been a running fan theory. But yeah, she is Shallan's mom. And it turns out that Town wasn't actually the herald that broke. It was Shauna. So when Shallan killed her, she sent her back to Braze, and then she was the one who broke, and that's why all of the Voidbringers were able to return. So that was like an insane plot twist, dude. That's crazy. We got the not so surprising reveal that all of the honor bearers in Seth's camp are serving an unmade. That wasn't that surprising. So the past Seth chapters aren't the shocking part of this part. The shocking part was finding out that they are trying to get get him to be another herald. I had theorized that maybe Kaladin and Seth were being trained to become heralds of like this, of like the wind almost, like the wind could create their own heralds. But my theory right now is going to be that Seth is going to refuse to become the herald and Kaladin's gonna commit to it instead. But I don't even get why they're trying to reform the Oath Pact, truthfully, because I feel like it didn't work. Or like it stopped working. I feel like they need a new plan because Shallan killed her mom when she was like 11 and she's like, I think 19 or 20 while this book is going down. So her mom only lasted like 9 years, if even that. So I don't think sending the heralds back to Braze is the way to go. I don't think that's actually what's gonna stop the desolations anymore. Unless they replace all of the heralds with like newer, fresher souls, or they change the Oath Pact in a different way. I don't know, but I don't think the Oath Pact is going to end up being how they fix this. But at the same time, I sort of feel like Kaladin is the one who's going to end up becoming the herald instead of Seth. And maybe what this time skip is going to be is the amount of years that they last in Braze, essentially. If he decides to head that direction, then I think it's possible that Kaladin joins the heralds and then they go to Braze and they're there like, I don't know, 10 years maybe. And that's the time skip that Brandon Sanderson has been saying is going to happen between this book and the next book. So that's a possibility. But my other theory is just that they're going to come up with a completely different plan because obviously this isn't working. So I don't know. We shall see. But that was crazy too. So we got Shallan's mom is actually one of the heralds, and she's like the biological daughter of one of the heralds. So no wonder her powers are crazy and she's like super powerful. We got Seth. We got the fact that they're trying to train Seth to become one of the heralds, which I think is going to end up being Kaladin. And then we have everything going on with Dalinar. He's in the spiritual realm. Odium tries to break him by showing him all of his past failings. He has a lot of emotional growth in the moment. It was very beautiful to read. I did not want to read the scene where Evie died, and I really appreciate the fact that we did not actually have to watch that as the reader. Dalinar didn't end up having to watch it, so we did not have to watch it, and he grows and changes as a person instead, which I appreciate. And then he gets sucked into this cell with the Stormfather, where they start to bond a little bit. And the Stormfather is really afraid that Dalinar is going to end up hating him because he's an extension of Honor, and whatever Honor did is horrible. Apparently we haven't even seen it yet. I thought it was the whole like enslavement of the singers thing, but I guess that's not it. I guess he did something else as well that was also awful. That the Stormfather is really afraid of Dalinar witnessing because he thinks it's going to make Dalinar hate him because he's an extension of Honor's power. And then I read the interludes because honestly I wish I could read the whole rest of the book tonight. I still have like 400 pages left, so even if I stayed up all night, I think I would finish it around like 4 in the morning maybe. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to go to bed, and I'm just going to plan to spend my whole entire evening after work tomorrow reading, although I still haven't read the book that I need to read for Marissa's stream. Why did I do this to myself? I feel like that's a book I can read really fast though. Do I risk it? Do I leave that one to Friday? I don't want to show up to the stream having not read it, so maybe I should just read the whole entire book I'm supposed to do for Marissa's stream tomorrow and let myself finish this book Saturday, because I pretty much have to go right from work to Marissa's stream. I hate being responsible. Oh, but I was gonna say I read the interludes, and there was one that I'm a little bit disappointed because I want to read the Stormlight novellas, and one of the interludes kind of spoiled something from the novellas, but that's okay. That's my fault for not reading it before reading this book when it technically comes before it. I don't know why I was like hoping it wouldn't be relevant to a point that it was like spoiling things. But the other one showed Odium's perspective, and he kind of has this realization that, like, you know, when the power on its own is left alone for too long, they keep saying it ends up becoming its own being without a vessel. Then he has this moment where he's like, oh, do I destroy it? Now that would be like opening himself up to be able to be hurt by another god. So I don't know that he will go through with that. But it made me realize that, like, I think the Stormfather is what he's talking about. I think the Stormfather is the being that is like essentially coming to life out of Honor's power because the power hasn't wanted to take a vessel this whole time. But I'm not 100% sure, because the Stormfather certainly has acted as though the shard is different from him, but he's lied a lot. So maybe he has been kind of the shard of Honor this whole time. And just without a vessel, he's like a shadow of what Honor's power can be. And now that all this time has passed, he's like starting to form into much more of a like tangible being, because he's been without a host for like 7,000 years or however many it's been since Honor died. Quick warning, I read the first chapter of day 9 because it's from Tanavast's perspective, which is the vessel that held Honor that got destroyed. I'm going to talk about that now, so if you are watching this like as you read the days, warning. This is like the very first chapter of day 9 that I'm about to talk about. Basically, we find out that the reason that Honor and Cultivation came to Roshar was because they're in love and they were kind of forbidden to be together. So they wanted to escape to a place that was uninhabited to create children of their own and spend their lives together. But Honor's really drawn to Roshar and he loves it. So he's like, no, let's stay on Roshar. I know the singers are here, but we can guide them and like you can stay hidden. But he talks about these 2 other planets. I assume one of them was the planet the humans lived on, and he just kind of ignores that one. But then he talks about the other one, which I guess the core of it is a weird metal that is also like pure investiture, or just like contains a lot of investiture. I don't know. But I just thought that was sick. I loved reading from his perspective. It was super interesting, and I love that there's a little bit of like a forbidden romance between the gods. And I'm wondering if at some point we're gonna get a little novella about that, or like a book about that, because I would love. Their whole story sounds like a bit of a tragic love story. Let me know if one of the books he's already written is that. I would love to read that. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed so that I can wake up tomorrow and get my stupid job done, so that I can spend my entire evening reading, trying to power through the book that I have to talk about on Marissa's stream, so that I can hopefully also read a part of this book tomorrow night. I find that to be unlikely because I'm pretty sure the book I have to read for Marissa's stream is like 300 pages. That's gonna take me a solid 4 hours. Probably. So that's gonna be my whole evening tomorrow night, I fear. My life is so hard. Kidding, obviously. I'll see you guys later. Good morning, everybody. It's been a few days since we last checked in. It's now Sunday, December 15th, I believe. I finished day 9 yesterday, but I didn't get the chance to update you guys before I had to leave for my friend's Christmas party. Ironically, the friend hosting the party is one of my friends who is really into this book series and is reading the book as well. And he's basically at the same part in the book that I am, so there was part of me that was like, do I just tell him I'm not coming? I feel like he'll understand. But no, I went. And I'm glad I did, because they did a Secret Santa thing and I participated. Obviously, I would have dropped off my gift even if I wasn't hanging out. But you guys are never gonna believe this, okay? I'm showing you this for a reason, I promise. So I got gifted this by my Secret Santa. I'm really excited because the person who gave it to me is from Spain, and this is a Spanish author that their girlfriend really likes. So it's translated. I'm excited to read it. Okay, let me read you part of the back. David Sanchez may not be from Margot's wealthy high society world, but he recognizes the sadness in her eyes the minute she sits across from him at the bar. Are you kidding me? I told you guys. I told you. It's always the man that notices the sadness in your eyes. Just because Brandon Sanderson didn't follow the rules doesn't mean I'm incorrect, okay? It's always the man that notices the sadness in your eyes. And this author understands that, even if Brandon Sanderson doesn't. That is gonna make no sense if you have not watched these videos in chronological order. If you're only popping in to watch this one because you wanna freak out with me about the new book, that's not gonna make any sense. That's a reference to some of my earlier videos about these books. Guess you'll just have to go back and watch them. Guess you're forced to like and subscribe and maybe comment if you're feeling cheeky. But anyway, let's talk about Stormlight. So this is how much I have left, and shit is going down, and I'm yelling timber. And I'll never stop making that joke. So one of the things that I really, really liked from this section is that, leaving off from the last section, the Stormfather was going to show Dalinar what really happened with Honor, but instead of getting it in vision form, instead of viewing it from Dalinar's perspective, we instead just got Honor himself, like Tanavast, the character, telling the story in these little like snippets throughout the day. I thought that was really smart and really well done. I mentioned earlier in the video how I think Brandon Sanderson has done a really good job of avoiding having like the character that knows everything. And we've watched Dalinar through all these visions up to this point, but it probably would have been irritating to take Dalinar through all those in like vision form. It probably would have been more difficult from the author's perspective. And so I get why he just like forwent that completely. I don't know if that's a word. I know forgone is a word. I don't know if forwent is the past tense of it. So anyway, I think it was a really cool choice, and like I, the reader, was like, oh my god, we're getting Honor's perspective. And those chapters were super fun. And basically the only new information, well, I guess we got a bunch of new information. And some of the new information we got had to do with the fact that Honor and Cultivation were in love. So they sought out a planet to rule together because they wanted to be together, even though that kind of went against the agreement of the gods originally. And then Razy, Odium, showed up at a planet nearby and started like giving the power out to the humans, and Honor like couldn't stand that. Basically, he was like worried about Razy getting too much power on the planet and like abusing the humans there. So Honor went and like granted power to some other humans, and they end up in a big war, and that's how they destroyed that planet, was like war between Odium and Honor on that planet. So they go back to the planet where Honor and Cultivation were together, and like Odium kind of finds that planet and brings his people there, and then they all make an agreement basically to bind the powers of all of the humans so that they essentially have to follow their oaths in order to be able to use them, because part of what happened on the other planet was that once the humans got this power, overdid it, they used it way too much and ended up like in a giant war where they destroyed the whole planet. So then they were like, okay, we'll give them these powers, but they have to swear these oaths. So then if they start like using the powers for other things, then they like can't do that anymore. And then it shows how like later they made like other deals like over the course of the centuries, and that Odium was stuck on the planet and he was really upset about this, and this was the thing that he really wanted to like change. He wanted to be freed into the Cosmere so he can go destroy all the other gods. His goal is to be like the only god in the universe, basically. And we know that's now Taravangian's goal as well. And then we find out that the reason that Honor betrayed Mishram was because he made a deal with Odium to do so. So basically, if I trap Mishram, will you agree with me that we won't directly interfere in this war anymore? And, you know, the humans and the singers can be at war, but like we're not going to be involved in it. And Odium agreed to that. And so that's why Honor trapped Mishram. But it was a betrayal of an oath that he had made to the singers. And so that is what ended up making him really weak. And then Odium was able to kill him. But before he died, he imbued the storm with like more of his power. So that's how like the Storm Father was really fully created. So that's really cool. I don't have much more to say on that other than I don't really feel like we got new information about like why Honor died as much as we got new information about like the stuff that happened before. So I feel like a lot of really cool stuff was revealed, and I hope eventually he writes a book about the gods destroying ad nauseam, whatever they call like what was originally like the one god that they killed and split into shards so that they could all have like a piece of their power, essentially. I'm curious about that. I hope he writes a book about that eventually. I'm sure he's planning to. In other news, Azir seems to be completely lost. Oh my god, I almost just called Adeline like one of my characters' names from my book. That's how tired I am this morn. That was crazy. My brain just like short-circuited. I'm like, now I'm talking about my book actually, and some of the writing I've been doing recently. No, I'm not. Here's the thing. Brandon Sanderson has very heavily foreshadowed how this is going to end, both via the Towers games that Adeline and Yen Gawan have been playing. I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry. But also like some other bits and pieces he's dropped here and there, and some of the little like insert things that happen before the chapters. So up until the very, very end, it's going to look like Odium is going to win. There was a line in there somewhere about like not every loss is a defeat. I think that refers to the Shattered Plains and Azir both. I think both of those are going to be won on technicalities. I already kind of predicted that in Azir, because the Emperor is still alive and the Emperor is on the throne, the technical law is going to be as long as the Emperor is on the throne, the Empire stands. And so because they didn't like kill the Emperor basically, or just remove him from his throne, if they carried the throne into like the safe room or whatever, or maybe they'll have to sneak into the palace and get him to actually sit on the throne when noon hits. I don't know. That could be kind of fun. But I feel like that's going to be how they end up saving Azir. Thelena, I feel like, is lost, but I feel like they're going to end up regretting that. I don't think Odium is going to end up being a really good boss, because Odium basically convinced them to go to his side and sign a contract with him the way he did other pieces of the Azish Empire. I also think that the Shattered Plains are going to end up being won on a technicality, because there's this thing about Sigzil throwing these like papers to Venli. So I think Sigzil and Yasna made me like an ambassador or something like that. I don't know. There's going to be something where like they made Venli like the ruler of the Shattered Plains on behalf of Urithiru and Alethkar, and so she's gonna be like the ruler there, and they won't have like overthrown her. All of the singers like think they won the battle, but they didn't, because she won because she's like there with this paperwork that I think is going to end up saying like, I am the boss here essentially on behalf of these people. So like they still hold this land because you didn't overthrow me. So I think that's what they're going to do on the Shattered Plains. I don't know if Odium's going to survive this book. I feel like he has to, because what are the next books about? Like it seems like Brandon Sanderson is building up for Odium to be the big bad of the Cosmere, and like he wants to take over and he wants to kill all these other gods. And so the back half of the books are going to be about like fighting him in different ways. But that's so many books that are so long to be about specifically that. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to keep reading. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else I wanted to say. My theory had been it's either going to be Gav or Kaladin. I'm now thinking it is going to be Kaladin because they said the person who deserves honor's power is somebody who like is super duper honorable and doesn't like want power and is like refusing it essentially. And we've seen that with Kaladin a bunch of times. Now the power had said that whoever wins the contest of champions is going to end up with honor's power. That's what they told Dalinar in these visions. That's what we learned from like the honor perspective. But I don't know. I feel like they're going to end up basically imbuing Kaladin with the power and then making him the champion. But I don't know. We'll see. I still think he's going to end up with honor's power though. Because his whole like, oh, if I come back, it'll be in a different capacity thing. Like, I don't know. He's either going to become a herald on Seth's behalf or he's going to become honor. But I don't know if the heralds are gonna like mean anything anymore. I feel like they're gonna get rid of the oath pact and figure out like a different way to like trap everybody on Braze. Or maybe they don't trap the fused, but it's like, how do they stop them from getting reincarnated? I have no idea. We'll see. It's 10:30 a.m. I had a really slow start to the morning. My friend has a like aerial show that she's doing at 1 p.m. that I have a ticket to, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be a good friend and I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna ditch it to read this book. I only really have an hour to read because then I have to get ready and I want to leave at like noon because the place is like 20 minutes away. But I obviously want to get there. Like, I don't want to get there right when it starts. And also I need to stop and get lunch because I have like no food here. So I need to stop at like 11:30 so I can get ready. So I only have like an hour to read. So there is no way that I'm finishing this book before I go to the show. But I'm going to go and then I'm going to do some grocery shopping and then I'm going to come home. And my plan, well, honestly, my plan was to wake up early enough to have finished the part before I went to my friend's show. Obviously that didn't happen. I've had a crazy weekend though. I needed the sleep, so it's fine. But yeah, so the new plan is to go to my friend's show and then go get some groceries and come home and watch the Cardinals game from here. Hopefully they don't miserably lose like they have been the past few weeks. And at some point tonight, finish the book. But for sure, I'm finishing it tonight. Hello. I just got home from my friend's show. It was really good. Now I'm making myself food because I'm starving. And then I'm pretty much just going to read until I finish the book. I have about 100 pages left. It has been revealed that Gavinor is Odium's champion. They've kind of been talking about how like Odium wins no matter who wins this whole thing because he kind of has control over all of the cities, or I guess empires on the planet. We know that that's not true. I think Adelin's going to end up defeating that fused. So they're going to have Azir, and they're also going to have the Shattered Plains. But I actually think a few things. Dalinar has spoken about how he's like, I don't think this challenge is actually about fighting. And Odium made a comment right at the tail end of the chapter where he basically said that he knew that Dalinar is going to win the competition against Gavinor, like he's going to win in the sword fight. But I think the plot twist is going to be that Dalinar is going to genuinely choose to sacrifice himself for Gavinor and decide not to kill an innocent and give up Alethkar in the process. And when he decides to do that, he's going to end up actually winning the battle because he does not let hate win. And then he's going to end up taking Honor's power. Or the Honor's power is still going to go to Kaladin. Who fucking knows? Anyway, I'm going to finish making myself a snack. I mean, I guess it's like an early dinner. It's like 4:10. And then I'm going to finish the book. Friends, we have done it. We have achieved the impossible. Wind and Truth, read. Marked as read on Goodreads. Marked as complete. Okay. Took me 10 days, I'm pretty sure, total to read this behemoth. There they are. Look at this. Look at them, all read and completed. Oh my god, that's heavy.
Okay. In the upcoming new year, I have plans to kind of reshuffle things so that I can have more of like a permanent setup for YouTube. And I want shelves so that I can have like dedicated shelves for the books I've done like series on in the past, so I could put like all my Stormlight books on display, and I could have like a shelf for my Twilight books, and I could have a shelf for my Hunger Games books, maybe some knickknacks related to those stories, and it can all be like a background for me. That's kind of the plan, that's the vision. I know I have multiple guy friends that watch these videos because they love these books, so boys, I want shelves. You're gonna have to help me figure that out. I finished the book on Sunday. I'm actually filming this on Tuesday because I needed that time to like recover a little bit from the ending. And I have thoughts and feelings and emotions, extensive ones really. But I guess we'll start with like the big bang, right? I told you guys Brandon Sanderson doesn't have that dog in him, okay? I told you that he does not have the George R.R. Martin murder all of your characters gene. He doesn't. He was like, this book's gonna be a bloodbath, and then he killed a bunch of side characters and one of the main characters, and led everybody to believe that another of the main characters died when he didn't. And that's it. Not exactly the bloodbath we were promised, but I can't say that I'm upset about that. I love these characters. I want to continue reading books about them, so it's not that I wanted more people to die. I just was surprised because he sold us on this idea that this book was going to be this culling of the characters. It's going to be this bloodbath. And basically all of the main characters except for one are still alive. So the one character that did die is Dalinar, Big Daddy Dalinar, R.I.P. I keep seeing people on TikTok saying that he was like described at one point as kind of ugly, and everyone was like, yeah, I refuse to believe that. Dalinar is a DILF. I agree with you. He has big DILF energy, and I think he would be hot. And you know what? Death of the author. If we all want to believe that Dalinar is hot, Brandon Sanderson can't stop us. Our interpretation is just as valid as his. But anyway, both Dalinar and the Stormfather were killed by Odium. So basically in the big showdown, Odium sent Gavinor in as his champion, and the point was basically that Dalinar had to either admit that Taravangian was right, and sometimes being a ruler means making really hard and horrific choices, such as killing an innocent like Gavinor. Now, Gavinor had to go in willing, so Odium had 20 years pass for him in the spiritual realm so that he would become an adult, and then betrayed him immediately and basically froze him in place so that Dalinar could just kill him, basically. And Dalinar had to decide to either kill him or himself. And so he either had to let Taravangian win the duel or admit that Taravangian was right, and sometimes being a ruler is making hard choices. And Taravangian, for some reason, believed that this was going to, like, bring Dalinar to his side eventually, I'm pretty sure. It's like admitting that Taravangian is right about the world would mean admitting that his quest is valid, essentially, is kind of what it felt like Taravangian was thinking. Now, Dalinar chooses door 3, which is to renounce his oaths to both the Stormfather and to Honor, and forfeit the duel, essentially. And he says to Honor's power, which is kind of starting to become sentient, but is at about the maturity of a 5-year-old, to join with Taravangian and kind of watch and learn that Honor isn't just about keeping oaths, that there's so much more to Honor than just strictly keeping an oath, right? I think that's going to end up becoming important eventually. I think the power of Honor is going to split off from Taravangian when it realizes that Taravangian isn't that honorable. In the moment, Taravangian now has both the Shard of Odium and the Shard of Honor. They combine together to create a shard called Retribution. So in the combination of these two shards together, Odium becomes a new being called Retribution, which is a combination of hate and honor, which is fascinating on its own, the idea of retribution being the combination between hate and honor, especially because part of the whole emotional piece of the ending of this book is the exploration of what it means to be honorable. And Adolin kind of has this whole emotional development where he's thinking about how to him a promise is different from an oath. Like an oath is something that should not be broken no matter what, but a promise has more to do with like the meaning of it than just, it's like following the letter of the law versus following the spirit of it, essentially. And then one of them, either Adolin or Dalinar, has this point, I think it's Dalinar, but it has this point where he's thinking about honor and what it means to be honorable and how honor just views it as like making oaths and not breaking them. But Dalinar was thinking about how sometimes an oath and like honor can lead to people doing things that are like objectively bad, such as like getting into fights and duels over being insulted and, you know, conquering and all these other things in the name of like honor for the self. And so that honor is not inherently a good, essentially. And so it's interesting to see that the combination of hate and honor is something like retribution, where it's like when you've been hurt. Now you want that retribution. Now you're pursuing payback in some sort of way for an affront to your honor. And Taravangian right in the moment is like, ha, I won. I beat Dalinar. Like, that was a weird way to do it, but like now I'm super powerful. But Dalinar was like, outsmarted you, buddy. Because by combining 2 shards, you have now become more powerful than any of the other gods. And you're freed. You can go out into the Cosmere. You're no longer bound to Roshar. Both of these things mean that all of the other gods now have to get involved in this situation. Now, Wit has been talking throughout this entire book, and maybe even the past one, about the fact that the most important thing for the Cosmere is to keep what was Razi and is now Taravangian, the Shard of Odium essentially, chained to Roshar in order to protect the Cosmere. And how all the other gods were content to just leave honor and cultivation and the people of Roshar to deal with Odium and to keep him trapped on the planet so that they can be free from the threat of Odium. But now that Odium is both freed from the Cosmere and is one of the most powerful beings in the Cosmere, that means the other gods will have no choice but to join up and fight Taravangian. And Taravangian basically immediately realizes upon absorbing the Shard of Honor that this is exactly what's going to happen, and he's enraged at Dalinar. And it goes back to the foreshadowing where there was a line somewhere in the little snippets that happened before the chapters that said that not every loss is a defeat. I thought it was talking more about the battle at the Shattered Plains, but I think now maybe it was talking about both, because it turns out I was right. They did a whole thing where they basically gave the Shattered Plains to Venli. So Venli and her ambassadorship or whatever are kind of like overseeing the Shattered Plains, and they're going to have like diplomatic relations with Urithiru. They signed a treaty between the Singers and the humans. So there's like peace now between them, and the treaty outlines things like trade and peace talks and other things. And it was signed on behalf of the Singers by Venli. And so now they are kind of bound by that treaty because it was in place when the Contest of Champions happened. And Venli and her people, the listeners, are put in charge of ensuring that the treaty is respected. So they are in charge of the Shattered Plains, even though the other Singers in the army and stuff can live there. Ultimately, Venli and the other listeners are the ones that are in charge of that area, so it's not directly controlled by Odium. So I did turn out to be right about that, and I do think that and not every loss is a defeat line was referring to that, but I also think that line is actually referring to the Contest of Champions now as well, where like Dalinar technically lost, but it wasn't really a defeat because now Roshar has all this assistance from outside in the Cosmere to help. So some of what happened when Odium took over, it seems that he's making some land changes to the planet for all the areas he controls, so he can't get to Urithiru, he can't do anything on the Shattered Plains, and he can't do anything with Azir, because it turns out I was also right about that. They ended up basically taking the throne room and holding the throne room until the Contest of Champions happened. And as long as the Emperor is on his throne, the Empire stands. And so Azir is still in control of the Azish Empire. Urithiru gets locked down in this big like crystal, basically. The sibling and Navani go to sleep, and they protect Urithiru with the shield, and it protects them as well. All of the Radiants that are in Urithiru can use their powers, but they can't physically leave Urithiru. So when Honor got combined with Odium, there's no more Stormlight because the Stormlight came from Honor. So there's no Stormlight whatsoever. However, the Radiants can use Tower Light to power their powers. So nobody at Urithiru can physically leave Urithiru. I'm just trying to nail all of this at once, and then I'll talk about like how I feel about all of it. So nobody at Urithiru can leave Urithiru. So basically everybody on the Shattered Plains is also stranded there because they only would have been able to go to Urithiru and back or to Azir. But you can't use the Oath Gates because there's no Stormlight. So there's no way to operate the Oath Gates because there's no Stormlight. And there's no more Spren right now on Roshar, because all of the Spren got locked away by the Heralds in order to protect them from Taravangian, because Taravangian would have gathered them all up and unmade them and essentially like killed them, because he has the power to do that now. They refound the Oath Pact, but they figure out a way to send their minds to a different place. And Kaladin takes the place of the Final Herald instead of Seth. The writing was kind of on the wall on that one too, I gotta be honest. So I kind of knew that was gonna happen, but I was still happy about it anyway. So Kaladin becomes the Final Herald, and he partially becomes like the Herald of Therapy, and everybody's like, what's therapy? And he's like, I really have no idea, but we'll figure it out. So they figured out a way to lock the souls of the fused away on Braze, but for themselves and their minds to go to a different place. so that they don't get tortured. So basically all of the Spren and all of the heralds are mentally in the spiritual realm right now in order to protect them from Taravangian and the Fused. So now the Fused are still immortal, but if they get killed, they will go back to Braze and be stuck there the way they would have been before. And finally, Shallan is stuck in Shadesmar. So here's the thing. Here's how I feel about a lot of it. I don't know. This book was one of the most fun reading experiences I've had in a really long time. Yes, I just started reading the Stormlight Archives this year, but I've dedicated a lot of my reading time this year to reading these books, and I've had a lot of fun bonding with my friends over them, and there was something very fun about a new release that a lot of people I knew were excited about. I feel like you just don't get that as often anymore. Not to be one of those old people that's like, back in my day. But when I was a kid, there were these massive book series that everybody was super into and everybody read, and when the new books came out, it was like everybody's reading it all at the same time. So it's like the finale of a big TV show. We just don't see that as much anymore. It's just not as frequent for a book to become so massive that there are so many people reading it that you're essentially all reading it at the same time and bonding over it. And so it was a really, really fun reading experience for that reason. It also was, I think, the most engaging, the most interesting, and the best written of all of these books. I was hooked the whole entire time. I just wanted to keep reading it. I kept finding myself disappointed that I had plans or that I had to work or something because all I wanted to do was keep reading. And it's been a long time since a book has held my attention like that as well. However, I did feel a little bit like the ending was slightly unsatisfying. I'm gonna say it. It was unsatisfying because I think he just left too many loose ends, and so many of them were somewhat predictable. The only thing that really surprised me was Dalinar renouncing his oaths as a way to defeat Taravangian. That was genuinely very shocking. I thought what was gonna happen was that he was gonna maybe walk away from the duel or something like that. I didn't realize he was gonna fully denounce his oaths. Oh yeah, and Taravangian killed the Stormfather when he did that too. So both Dalinar and the Stormfather are dead. So it seems that Syl has kind of inherited the power of the storm from the Stormfather now. And now that Kaladin's immortal, Silladin can become a real thing, which I think it will. But I feel like it was really obvious what was going to happen in Azir. And I feel like it was really obvious what was going to happen on the Shattered Plains. And with Shallan being stuck in Shadesmar as well, I think the time skip is going to be about a decade's worth of time on Roshar. Now the time on Roshar is passing at a different speed than the time for the rest of the Cosmere because of something to do with like the amount of power of like the shards combining. I don't know. So I think that that decade is going to pass on Roshar, which I think is going to be about 70 to 80 years outside of Roshar. And that's when the time skip is going to pick back up. Now, one of the things that's confusing to me is the heralds kind of left it off as like when we're needed to help with this war, we'll come back, help train everybody, and then be brought back into this oath pact and this kind of like eternal living in the spiritual realm in order to keep the Fused trapped on Braze. The thing that confuses me is the thing that caused the desolations was the heralds breaking the oath pact and essentially caving to the torture and allowing the Fused to return to Earth, right? So why is it that they would ever go back to Earth? Like why would they, or I guess not Earth, Roshar, but why would they ever go back? Because the whole point was like, hey, if we keep the oath pact, then everybody just keeps getting sent to Braze. So like, for what reason would they even need to go back? Maybe the oath pact is just permanent like this, right? I don't know. That was the only thing that like weirded me out about it. I don't like that Shallan and Adolin are separated. It makes me sad for them, but I'm happy they at least have a Sion so that they can contact each other and talk to each other. I don't feel resolved, I guess. And that's the thing that's kind of bothering me. This is supposed to be the end of an arc, and I can see why there's like a split here. Certainly the back half of the books are going to be more like space travel, Cosmere fighting, incorporating the other planets. I think it makes sense to start reading more of the Cosmere in the meantime. I said this in my last video. I don't know if I'm going to make videos about it. I probably will keep reading this stuff for fun, but I don't know how much I'm going to like actually talk about it in videos, or if I'm going to make videos on it. We'll see. But when the new Stormlight books come out, I'll probably continue making these videos because I do enjoy making these ones for these books. It's just that they are kind of a lot of work at the end of the day. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is that this was really sold as like an ending and a beginning, and I just don't really feel like we got an ending. And it's disappointing because I was so hooked right up to the very end, and it was emotional, and I was crying, and I was like happy for some characters and sad for others, and it really did feel like so much happened, and it was this giant story that just kind of ended on like a of all of these loose ends that haven't been tied up. And I feel like if he just left slightly less loose ends and more things were somewhat completely resolved, I would feel better. Like, I almost wish that the humans had like one stronghold. I know that sounds weird because it's like, obviously they're in a better position having like 3 places that are theirs and the rest of Roshar's Caravangians, but I feel like I would feel better if it was like all of them were at Urithiru or all of them were in Azir and it felt like the human population was like together, or if it was like clear how the heralds were going to be involved. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I want, because it's like, obviously he has to write the second arc, so he can't just resolve everything, but still it just, I feel dissatisfied. You know, like I feel like we didn't really get an actual emotional resolution. I feel like we got some plot resolutions, but we didn't get an actual like, yes, things are changing, but we're all together and we're gonna fight it together and we have each other and we can build our new normal in these new circumstances. Like, it just feels like everybody's so scattered and the humans and their whole society is just like shattered to pieces. And so there's no like relaxation in this ending. And maybe that's what I was looking for, is like a bit of like a, oh, okay, like, yes, there's still a big battle to be fought in the Cosmere, but there's at least like some semblance of like peace for the characters for a while. And obviously Kaladin gets to have that, but basically nobody else does. So I don't know, because I don't want to be overly negative. Like, I enjoyed the book so much and I enjoyed the series a lot, and this has been like an incredibly fun reading experience, and I don't mean to be like overly critical. I just wish that it had ended on like a slightly happier note, because it was supposed to be the end of an arc and I just feel so unresolved. Like, it doesn't feel like the tension got released. Like, all this tension built over this giant book, and we spent this whole entire book building all this tension for the ending of Dalinar's arc and the ending of Kaladin's arc to have that resolution, but for none of the other characters' arcs to have any sort of emotional resolution. So now all the tension of what's going on with Navani, Shallan, Adolin, Renarin and R'lain, Venli, Wit, Yasna, like all of these characters have no emotional resolution to their storylines. So the book as a whole, it just doesn't really feel like it resolved. And it's confusing because I feel like he's done such a good job of that with every book thus far, that it really felt like it was an ending to a book and that things were like resolved and completed, and he left you off in a place that you were like, okay, I really do want to read the next book and I want to know what happens, but I feel resolved. And I just don't feel like this book did that. I feel like he left too many loose ends and he left too much tension just hanging there. And so I don't like feel satisfied. And so that really is how I feel. But I don't know what you guys think. I feel like this isn't going to be well received because Brandon Sanderson kind of has a cult following. I feel like people are just going to call me a hater, but I don't know. It was really, really good. And I would recommend it as a series. If you like long books and you like fantasy, I think you might enjoy it. But I don't know. I just wish more had been resolved at the end, especially because he himself has said that it's like years before he's going to write another Stormlight book because he has to catch up the rest of the Cosmere so that he can keep writing the Stormlight books without spoiling other books that he wants to write. So it's probably going to be 6 or 7 years before we get another Stormlight book. And so in a way you can twist what I'm saying to like not be criticism, because it's like, obviously I want to read that next book because I want these storylines resolved, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than to say I don't feel like resolved. I don't feel like satisfied with the ending. I don't feel like enough was wrapped up for me to feel like this was a complete arc. I'm disappointed that that has to be what I say here at the end, but that really is how I feel. Okay, wait, really quickly. I had actually ended my commentary there, and in that original clip, I had just like asked you guys for your opinions, did my outro, but out of curiosity, I decided to go on goodreads.com and see what other people are saying about the book now that I've like filmed my thoughts, so that I didn't have any bias, right? I didn't know what other people thought before I recorded my thoughts. And the thing that's so funny to me, so funny to me, is that most of the reviews I saw were 5 stars. However, so many people were saying the same thing I just said, that it doesn't really feel like there was a resolution. Like, where was the closure? This was supposed to be the end of an arc. There was no closure. And now everybody's like, well, I want book 6 now because there's so many of these arcs that need to be resolved, but it's not going to come out for like 6 or 7 years or whatever. And so I just find it so fascinating because here I was like really worried that I was going to share this opinion
and so many people were going to be like, fuck you, Brandon Sanderson's the best author ever. How dare you say that? When it seems like a lot of his really devoted fans feel very similar to me, which is that this is an amazing book. This is an incredible testament to a man's love of writing. Like, it really is a phenomenal read and a phenomenal ride, and people are adamant to give it 5 stars because of how fun it is to read, and yet so many people seem to feel like the ending did not provide enough closure. And that's how I feel. I give it 5 stars. I think it's a 5-star worthy book, and I wish the ending had been slightly different. I wish more of the storylines had been resolved. I saw some people kind of mad at how like real world moral and politicky this one was, and to that I say, did you not read any of the other books? Every single one of these books is chock full of 21st century morals and politics. If you were too dense to pick up on that until this book, that's not Brandon Sanderson's fault. Anyway, all of that to say, I feel a little bit more comfortable in my opinion now. I seem to not be the only one who feels that way. We wanted a little bit more closure. We wanted a little bit more of it to feel resolved, and that's all. But that's gonna be all for me today, you guys. What did you think? Have you read the book? What did you think of it? Comment down below and let me know. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!